Okay, so we've talked about how to find the regression line by hand and by using a calculator. But for the assignment, you're going to be using Excel to find it. So we're going to talk about the keystrokes for that. And I had you all do that add-in for the data analysis, and hopefully you did that because you're going to need it. And if you didn't, you can still do it in a flash. It's no big deal. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at So here is what your scatter plot is going to look like for your assignment. It's a pretty messy version, but it's got everything on there. So you're going to create your scatter plot. We've talked about that bit. Remember that your scatter plot is worthless without labels. So remember, you need to label your x-axis and your y-axis. Make sure that you're getting the right variable in the right location. If you do not have a heading, then your graph, then that whole point for headings, even if you get these two, if you don't have that third one, then you lose all the points for the heading. Okay? So make sure you do all of them. Right? So make sure you have those labels.
So is this on the one, right?
Now, okay. You also remember that when we created the scatter plot using Excel, that we edited the minimum and maximum. The maximum really doesn't really matter because Excel always chooses the maximum based on your data points. But remember, it usually starts at 0, and you don't like it to start at 0. You might want to make those smaller because otherwise all of your points are going to bunch up in a little clot, right? So you need to change those values to make sure that your points spread out appropriately, so you've got the right scale. And look at this point. This may not seem important, but she wants it, so you'll do it. Change the background color of your spreadsheet so that it's not white with black. I have no idea why that's important, but it's on there, so we'll do it. And then what you're also going to be doing is you're going to be adding in your r squared. Anybody remember what r squared means?
Do we have access to this PowerPoint?
Right. Your r squared, what's r squared, guys? The coefficient of determination, right? It's the thing that tells you what percentage of the data of the effect can be attributed to the thing you're measuring. And you're going to have your y equals a plus bx, which is your regression line. Now notice, the regression line is there. The line is on there for you. Notice also that they have r squared, and it has the equation of the regression line. You have to tell it to do that. Okay? So we're going to talk about what you need to do in Excel to be able to get that information on your chart. Okay? And here's what you're going to do. In the top right, or add chart elements in your chart menu, when you create the scatter plot, remember you have to tell it to create that chart, the graph. You're going to be adding pieces. We did this before. We looked at that menu when we changed the maximum and minimum values, etc., and added titles. When you do that, you also need to click on trend line. And again, these are in there, but if you write them down, it wouldn't hurt you. Click on trend line, more options. A trend line is the same as a line of best fit. You're going to click on display equation, and that'll put the equation of the trend line on your graph. And we're going to be looking for it, so it has to be there. And you're also going to click on display r squared. It's just these two things at the very bottom there. And again, this is on your OneNote, but just want to make sure you've seen it. Okay? So that will be that part. And there's more, because you're going to also want to do some data analysis parts of this as well. So let's skip down to those slides. We're going to do show formulas for those. You're also going to need to be able to calculate the A and B for your least squared regression line. And you can do that in Excel, right, by putting in your data. Once you have your data into your chart, that you should, since you added the add-on, you should have a thing that says data and then data analysis, right? That's what happened when you added in that, did that add-in. And, pardon me? So once you've chosen data, then data analysis, you're going to choose regression and hit OK. Then it's going to give you a menu where you can input the ranges for your data, for all of your data. And then you're going to hit OK, and it's going to give you the following. And if you see, there is your value for your R squared, which is the coefficient of determination. Not correlation coefficient, but coefficient of determination. And you'll see at the bottom, there's your A and your B. Okay? So that's how to calculate them. Now, when you're doing this on your report, you don't need to go back and calculate these using Excel, because what did you tell it to do on your scatter plot? You told it to put the equation on there, so it's going to automatically do the equation and put the answer on there. All right? So you won't have to go back and do this independently. Right? Now you do, on your regression line, want to make sure that you have residuals and the residual plot. Again, you'll practice these. And that will give you your residual plot with those values. Make sure that you adjust the values, put a heading on there, etc. And that will give you the rest of the information that you need for your scatter plot. Okay? So